Action and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 233. It is 22nd of January 2024 and here we are with Vesa and Waldek, right? In PnP Weekly I always talk about the latest on Microsoft 365 and associated functionalities and features within the Microsoft Cloud like Power Platform and all of the things what people commonly use and build together or use together. This time we typically also have a visitor, not just my dog, who apparently just woke up, but also this time we had
a guest. Actually,
that is a good question. But this week's guest is
Today our guest is Stephan van Rooij, who is a Dutch MVP, identity consultant, and he also works on a product in the EDU and Microsoft 365 space.
Yes, and really good discussion, which was just recorded. So let's actually jump on that interview and let's start discussion with Stephan. Excellent. Let's get started on the PnP Weekly with Stephan. So Stephan, let's start with basics. Who are you and what do you do for a living?
I'm Stephan. I'm a software developer by heart, and I do consultant stuff, mostly identity, and I run my own company where we push millions of calendar items to M365 to the Graph API.
So now that's open up a lot of questions immediately. So your own company is an additional thing, or is that the thing what you do for consulting as well?
Yeah, so I do some consulting, but we also run a company where we push all the events to the Graph API.
Okay, let's start with the first thing.
Two things, right? There is a product and there is consulting.
Yes.
There you go.
So there's a product where we take the school schedule from different systems that all have an API, and we push those events to personal calendars in the M365 calendars.
Cool.
Is it one way or is it a sync?
It's one way because not all scheduling systems provide an API that you can also sync items the other way. Yep. So, but it is near real time. So yeah, millions of items to Office 365 every week.
Yeah.
Wow,
so is this
cool.
So let's be okay. So let's deep dive on that one a bit. So what is the product? Who's using that? Is it for education? How it's being used? Why would people care about it?
It's mostly education. So you have a school and they want to make it easy for teachers to schedule meetings around their classes. Then all the calendar has to be up to date. And this way, there's one source for your entire schedule, and that's your calendar.
Yeah. And technically, individual schools and the public sector elements, they have different scheduling applications where they do the scheduling for the classes, and then your tool is the one which is replicating those events and calendar things and the class information to individual students. Is that?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So they use like 8 different programs to calculate the best schedule for everybody, because you don't want 3 hours in between the day. You don't want the young students to start at 11. There's all these rules. So they have apps for this, and those apps calculate the best schedule for everybody. And then we take that schedule and push it to Microsoft 365.
Cool. That's actually really useful.
The most important thing, what is your product's name? Where can we find more info about it?
It's called Roostersync. So it's the Dutch name for schedule, and then suffix with sync behind it.
Yeah, roostersync.nl, correct?
Exactly.
Perfect. We'll add it to the notes.
Cool. How do you find the API surface in Microsoft 365 then? You now worked. How long has this product existed?
This product has existed for like 15 years. So previously it was working with Exchange Web Service.
Owls, pigeons, whatever. Right?
So it was pushing through the Exchange Web Service, and then we migrated to the Outlook API, and the Outlook API has been deprecated for like 6 years, I guess. and then we moved to the Graph API, and then issues started because in the beginning the Graph API did not support batching, and then the number of batch items you could do was reduced to 4.
Ooh, that's brutal at your scale.
So actually, I talked to some guys from the program team and said, yeah, we would rather use the Exchange Web Service instead of the Graph API. And then we had a big discussion on what we are doing wrong. And eventually the limit is changed to 20. So you can now make a batch call to Outlook with 20 items. And I must say, during this journey, we developed our own Graph API client because it's faster. And when we started with it, the Graph SDK did not support batching.
Yeah.
So that's why we needed batching to keep the scale up. We are never throttled, by the way. So that's one big. We use queues for everything. So all the changes go to queues, and the queues get processed. And if one tenant is sending out throttling messages, we just skip that entire tenant and do it 5 minutes later, and then everything is fine.
So technically, you're getting throttled.
Yeah.
But you're handling the throttling, so you're not getting cancelled, so you're not getting blocked. Which makes sense. So.
Yeah, and because we use batching, the amount of throttling messages we get is really low. So there's like 0.1% of the messages that get throttled. So we're not seeing any issues.
So that's an interesting thing. Like, how did you? And that's like my pet peeve, and we can talk about it for a long time. The moment you start,
I'm not surprised
using
that this topic is coming up. So
at scale, right? Like you said, like you will hit the limits at some point, and only then you will be able to say, "Hey, I'm getting these errors. Now I need to do something about it in my code." And I can imagine, like, every single time you change something in your code, you need to say, "Okay, does my change work the way I intended to?" So, like, how do you go about it? Like, do you hit the limits every time? Basically, load testing Graph to see if your code works the way you want it to, or do you have some other tips and tricks up your sleeve?
No, we actually implemented a fail fast mechanism. So if we see any of these messages, we just throw an error, and because we're using the service bus and Azure Functions, there's automatic fault handling. So we throw the exception as soon as possible, and then this mailbox gets pushed to the queue on a later moment, and then everything just keeps on working.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you have to have that erroneous message first for you to be able to test whether the workflow works, right? So how do you get that error in from the API to basically to be able to check, like, hey, okay, if or when we get an error, that thing is going to work?
Yeah, before the amazing dev proxy did not support throwing errors in batch requests, so we just were actually winging it. But recently we employ the dev proxy to test it out, and just to throw the errors and then see if we still fail fast and retry later.
And that is basically covering all scenarios that you need, right? So there are no, I don't know, what else? Is there anything else you would want to test that you can and for which you need to do some weird...
Sometimes we recently see that mailboxes that are not used, often they throw different errors. They throw errors that the resource is unhealthy or something. But because it's not 204 or 202, it's just this failed, so it fails fast, and then we retry it later. Okay. And that seems to be the most profitable way of working.
And it's behind the scenes, it's warming up the inbox again whenever you call it again, and then who knows how it's actually implemented. I don't know, I'm just speculating, but again,
because we add 20 items to a mailbox, that's possible in one request, and then do another immediately after, and then do another immediately after. And if the mailbox is not used, it seems to be that it's like in a not so hot server or something
called archive ID or something, and it needs to be kind of
I don't know. And then the first time you call it, it fails, and then because we fail in the processing of our queue message, it fails, and then it gets put on the queue message again, and it's all self-healing. So one request would not add the same item twice, because it checks the calendar which items have to be added.
Yeah, so they have a unique idea.
Really
you
cool.
can do that. How did you come up with this idea? So where is this coming from originally? It's like all of a sudden you were sitting in Saturday morning and thinking like, I have an idea.
Actually, I push 2 million items to Graph every week.
Yes. No, and I will go through all of the schools and have a discussion with them, and then basically push my product through. Do you have connections or something?
I was studying myself, and I was frustrated by the fact that the communication about schedule changes was really bad. The smartphones were only coming up, but the website where you could see the schedule was like an old HTML with frames and drop downs, and did not work on your phone. So that was the moment I thought, can we do something better with events? And first it was an internet calendar at the same URL. So you have a layer on top of your calendar, but then you want to schedule meetings, and the layer does not influence your free busy information. So then you have to see how can we get it in Exchange. Exchange web service, it still worked great, even though they discontinued basic authentication, but you can get tokens for Exchange web service without any problems once you know the identity stuff. So at the moment, we can still support customers with on-premise Exchange just through the Exchange web service. We can do Exchange web service to the cloud if we want a really fast connection, but most of our customers are converted to using the Graph API.
Yeah. Now, how did you find your customers? Let's go back in the time a bit more again. You were frustrated. It's okay. You first implemented something. How did you find your customers? How did this business came to be?
So I sold a license to the school I was studying myself, and from there it gradually schools stuck to each other, and the product got known. We don't do any commercial stuff. It's all schools talking to each other and saying we want a solution for our scheduling issues. And we're mainly focusing on the Dutch market. So Dutch market is our main thing, and it's schools like the product. And once they are a customer, they probably stay a customer for a long time.
Yeah, that's actually really cool, and it's actually good that it's word of mouth, because typically word of mouth provides a positive indication. So it's sure not necessarily the fastest way to grow in the market, but again, it's people trust other people who are in the same industry, and therefore they want to test out things. So.
I sometimes say I accidentally started a company when I was studying myself.
Yeah, for fixing something. That's actually a really good point. But you were trying to fix something. There was a problem. You fixed it and realized that, well, wait a minute, somebody else can benefit out of this.
So when you think about it, when you are now, like, where would you ideally, like, what is your dream with this? Do you want this to become a thing worldwide, global thing, or just like, nah, this is perfectly fine now?
I would see every student being able to use his calendar for all his scheduling needs. And if that's with my product, that's that's great. If that's with someone else's product, also great. I just want to make studying easier. So
And
that's my person.
And with the calendar, you mean the Exchange calendar, the calendar that I have, any calendar that they use? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean the Microsoft 365 calendar. Microsoft provides licenses for M365 for education at a discounted price, at least in the Netherlands. I'm not sure how that works in other countries. And if you have one place where your entire schedule is, so your personal appointments, your school schedule, meetings with other students, teachers, if that's all in one calendar, that helps clarity. That helps that you have one place to check your schedule. That also means that if your schedule is in M365, that you cannot tell them, hey, the app is not working, so I don't know where I have to go.
No excuses. No more excuses.
No more excuses. That seems to be a real thing in the Netherlands in high school. That's from 12 to 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the case. Oh, the app doesn't work. Oh, now we have an hour free for ourselves.
Yeah.
And and because we push it to M365, that does not work anymore, because the SLAs for the Outlook are much higher than the SLAs for the apps.
Sure. And of course, if a student has a permanent account throughout that 12 to 18 years within the country, which is one way to do that, not that every single country does this in the same way, then they can actually rely on that account and calendar to be there for the future, and they can link their phones and everything to it. So that's actually really smart.
It's available on your phone, on your tablet, on your laptop. If you change something, it's on all your devices. That's really great to see, and that really helps in setting these things.
Absolutely.
Another thing. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit. Another thing you mentioned, identity. Typically, that's a space where a developer hears about identity or access tokens or auth, they run away as quickly as they can. You seem to be the opposite. Why?
Yeah.
What triggers you? What makes you tick when it comes to identity?
So I actually come from this business like 15 years ago. Back then we had ADFS, Azure, Active Directory Federation services that you could use to federate online software. And I was really into this. I was like, how does this work? I want to know all the bits and pieces. And they moved some of the functionality to Azure AD, previously now known as Entra ID. I just want to know, how does it work? How can we make it more secure? I really like getting to know all the flows. I must admit, I enjoy reading the OpenID Connect specifications, 80 pages of just how things work. I really want to know how this works. I don't know why, but that makes me tick.
And technically, when you think about it, and of course, the technology evolves. We make things more secure. We start encrypting tokens, all of that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. But basic implementation of the authentication with tokens is still the same. So you can kind of build on the same knowledge which you gain from ADFS already, right?
Yeah, and it's just using the token is always the same. Getting the token is different for each flow, and I just want to know how it works and how to make it more secure. So if you check the samples on how to authenticate and save your secrets in Key Vault, I think all those samples are wrong, because most of those samples allow for extracting the credentials. And if you can extract the credentials, you have long time access to, for instance, a customer. We have, I think, 4 or 5 multi-tenant apps. If you would be able to get the secret for one of those, you would have access to many customer data. that's not something we want. So we really try to we put our secrets in the key vault and have them not being exportable, and then use cloud signatures to encrypt the token assertion in the key vault, and you cannot get the certificate out. So that's one of the assurance that we have to our customers, that I cannot even get the secret out of the key vault. It's always there. There's logging, what happens with it, what's being signed. So we try to make it more secure for our customers. And I also try to write blogs about this so others can use it as well. So I'm a frequent contributor to documentation on Entra, sometimes on the Graft. I'm also a contributor on the Graft SDK, where I implemented some way of batching that they then moved to the other SDKs as well. So that was a really awesome experience.
Yeah. Now, that's also why you are an Microsoft MVP, probably. You're MVP, just recapping, your MVP on the identity area, right? So, or how does it?
I'm an MVP on security.
Security, yes. Well, we keep on shuffling the areas, yes, but sure.
I'm not sure what's it going to be in June, but at the moment, I'm an MVP in the category security. And when I was awarded in that category, there were like 42 people around the world being a Microsoft MVP in security. And I think like 8 of them came from the Netherlands. So I don't know what's happening here, but it seems that we have a lot of security enthusiasts.
Well, technically, Netherlands is one of the technical spearheads within the world always. It's Netherlands and Scandinavia where typically adoption is higher on the new things, and then other countries will follow. So it's just how we see things also from Microsoft side.
So that's I became an MVP. It was a total, I think, half a year before I was awarded. I didn't even know about the program. I was just contributing stuff and doing stuff I liked and writing about it and making other people aware of these security things. And then someone said, "Yeah, but you're an MVP, right?" And I was like, "No, what's that? Tell me more."
Let's fix that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Typically the way it goes. So for how long now have you been an MVP?
Exactly the same. And what changed?
So let me first do the last part. What changed? Nothing changed. I do the same stuff. I enjoy sharing my knowledge. I do have some more connections if I want to ask questions to the product teams. But for my side, nothing changed. For how long have I been an MVP? I was awarded October 2022, I think. So
it's a bit
1.5 years.
Yeah.
1.5 years, and I'm up for renewal in June.
Cool.
I think everybody is renewable for June. I think that's how it works nowadays. So it's no longer a quarter by quarter or month by month like it was at some point. So
cool.
So recently all the AI stuff, I left it a little bit on the side. I enjoy playing with it. That's also one of the things change. As an MVP, you have earlier access to some things. Some things I cannot talk about. Some things I can talk about. There's currently a preview of OpenAI in Azure, and it's just amazing to play with.
What's actually the value for you? So your identity and security specialist and OpenAI in Azure. What are you planning to integrate that within your product, or what's the use cases with that?
Recently, I had a discussion about how you can implement Intune in your environment, and a lot of if you enroll a new tenant, you have to set up various policies. And we have this idea that we put the policies in a bin or in a folder, and we're gonna categorize them and say, if you have a company with 20 employees, you might want to get started with these policies and then push those policies to Intune and have your tenant pre-set up, something like that. And then to categorize all those policies and to make the rules. If you have these questions, maybe you want to type the questions and describe your company and have the policies be selected that way. It's just an idea, but
yeah, that's really cool. So like have a wizard or like interactive experience where you can answer a few things, talk about this is the company to work, this is kind of the experience level we get, this is the space in which we are. And it's like, yep, I know exactly what you mean. Basically, eliminate your work for yourself by an automated thing.
Yeah, and if you say we need ISO 27001, then you need these policies, and have the match between the bucket of policies we have and the questions the customer have those be made automatically. And this is just a random idea we got, and it's gonna be open source. I have 131 open source repositories at my GitHub. This is gonna be the next project. I'm currently working on a way to package apps for Intune, and I describe the entire journey on all the issues that I faced, that the Graft API documentation was not showing all the endpoints, and then how did I get those endpoints in the documentation. And so that's what I enjoy doing if I'm not working for my company.
Now you also mentioned that you do consulting on the security and identity side. How does a security consulting look like for you? So what is the typical day? Think about this from you were a student at some point in university or somewhere else, and you were like, I want to be a consultant. This is your opportunity of explaining what does a security identity consultant actually do for a living. How does your day look like?
In my opinion, I got to a certain knowledge level. If I keep that knowledge level to myself, then it's gonna go to waste because I don't need that knowledge all the time. I try to use the knowledge that I gained to help people set up single sign-on for all their applications. They might have M365, they might have Jira, Salesforce, you name it, what other apps. In my opinion, as an employee, you should only have one account, and that should be protected, and there should be all your access to all the other apps. For
if
companies
the app support Entra ID, so that's not always the case.
No, but most of them support OpenID Connect or SAML2 Federation, and those two techniques are supported in Entra. And then I try to help companies set up this single sign-on in all their apps and get their users moved to knowing, I have a secure device for Salesforce, I need to be in the office, or how does that work? Small companies, they don't know where to get started. And that's where I come in to guide them and to share my knowledge to get them up to speed.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still remember one reference example. Just there was I'm not going to go too much detail on what was the application, but basically there was at some point of a time we were building one mock-up application for our customers, and there was a third-party company who implemented it was basically using tenant administrative permissions to do certain operations within a tenant. The first version which we got from certain company, not going to say any names, basically said, give your tenant password, ID and a password, and we'll do the operation for you. And it's like, no, not like that.
No, I'm all for don't share passwords. Use the admin consent. All our multi-tenant applications, they internally also implement Entra to get tokens for our internal APIs, to get tokens for our external APIs. We also have other apps in the education sector. If the school doesn't like our interface, we say, we don't care. Here is the API, get a token from Entra, build your own interface.
Yeah.
All our APIs are, all our apps are built with the idea that we provide the data, the servers, and the front end, but the front end uses our own API. So if you don't like the front end, build your own API. Do it in Blazor, do it in Angular, do it in React, get a token, use the token, and be done with it. That makes us super flexible, and our customers really like that. If the front end does not match their brand or their logos, or build your own, integrate it in SharePoint. You can get a token from a SharePoint web part for an external API once you configure all the technical stuff with the tokens. Then you can just call the external API from a SharePoint web part. Do it that way. Integrate it however you want.
Yep.
I think we're getting very close on time, and there was one more thing that I wanted to ask. What's wrong with cheese?
So Waldek is referencing the fact that I'm Dutch and I don't like cheese. So
yes.
I don't know.
That's a very explicit thing from all the things you could pick. Like, I don't like cheese. Like, do tell.
Really fun you mentioned it. Yeah. As a kid, I never grew up with it. I have a lot of family members that don't like cheese. As a kid, I didn't like it. They did not fed it to me enough, I guess. I never started liking it, and no, it's not working for me.
Okay. It's not working.
Not a thing for me.
There is one more thing I would want to get back to. That's I really like the Graph API. I'm all in for let's do everything with the Graph API.
Yep.
But in the Teams hackathon, I had a question from a customer. He said, we want to show all the apps that you have access to in a Teams app, because our employees are all in Teams the entire day. We want the list of the My Apps website. We want that in Teams. And it's not possible, but I am an expert in getting tokens. So I figured out how to get a token for the internal API and still show the My Apps with the logos, with the names in my Teams app. But unfortunately, it's an internal API, and I would not suggest anyone to use those in public. That would be one of the things that I could see implemented. So having all the services into the Graph API and not just most of them.
Yeah, I think so. On that particular request, obviously the objective is to get all of the services in Microsoft 365, in Microsoft Graph, and the challenge is always that immediately when something goes public, then we need to start versioning and maintaining operational challenges. All of that starts, and that is a huge decision, especially in the scale of Microsoft 365. So whenever it goes to beta or V1, you cannot change that signature anymore, or you will actually break any of the existing applications. So that's why it might take, and it might look like, and it might take a long time for some of the APIs actually graduate to be ready for GA. But again, fair feedback, absolutely. Cool. What's happening this week? Let's do a quick round on what's happening this week. Something, not obviously anything in NDA discussion, but anything interesting happening this week, Stephan, on your side. How is your week look like?
Today, like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm also a consultant. I'm working on a project, and I need to implement access control lists in a custom application, and that's what I'm seeing if there's a good pre-built solution or that we have to figure something out ourselves.
Cool.
Keeping in mind that we also want to start using Azure services like Azure Search and the Graph connector to get that data in the Copilot container. Is that the right word for it?
Search, index, but yeah, exposed through Copilot.
Yeah, exposed through Copilot. And then you also need those access control lists, because you need to specify this user does have access, this doesn't have access. And yeah, I want to see if there's a good solution if you want to implement something like this in a custom application.
Yeah.
So that's how my week is going to look like.
Cool. That's intriguing. Really cool. Do tell more.
Waldek, probably dev proxy, CLI.
So actually, dev proxy, we released a new version of dev proxy last week. So this week is more about comms, telling everybody what we've done, what's new.
So
what's
don't
cool.
just ship. Also explain what you've shipped.
Yes, because if a tree fell in a forest and no one was there, did it fall, right? So there's
exactly.
that we try to do. Like, yes, we see shipping as the first part of our work. You know, that we get feedback, the ideas that we've got. It's important to evolve the product, but then it's also, we need to tell everybody about it.
Yep.
And it all starts with updating the docs so that people can find things, building demos, building videos, talking to people internally, externally, telling basically everybody about what we've done. So one, two, we're getting close towards the end of the month, meaning new release for CLI for Microsoft 365. So we're going to start wrapping up the work that we've done, preparing a release announcement for that. And then three, as we releasing this video today, if you join us on time, you will hear me live, I hope, talk about extending Copilot for Microsoft 365 with graph connectors. So we will walk again about what's special about them, how they work. We will look at example, how you would build one, and what is kind of the outcome that you will get to set the stage for upcoming weeks, where we will dive more into other examples, more elaborate examples of connectors. So if you have the chance, join us there. Yep. What about you, Vesa?
Absolutely. I have a really messy week related on a lot of other stuff. So there's a lot of financial work. There's a lot of PO organizational work. So unfortunately, I don't get to write that much code anymore because I need to do coordination on many things.
You're not supposed to be writing code. That's a good thing.
Kind of true as well, but it's a lot of communication, planning and financials and all of that as well. So as you get people reporting to you, even officially or as a vendors, then you need to start doing financial stuff, planning and budgeting as well, which is not fun, but it has to be done. So no can do. But I guess
I almost forgot one
Stephan.
important thing that I'm going to do this week. At the end of the week, there's a Dutch conference. It's called BitBash, and I'm going to talk about how to protect your API with Entra ID, of course.
Cool.
That's cool.
Cool. That's really cool. We'll get that one noted on the notes as well. Awesome. But thank you, Stephan, on joining on the PnP Weekly. Really cool. Good to catch up as well and know a bit more about your background. The application itself is actually really cool. We'll get references on that one for sure in the video notes and all of that. But I guess that's it for now. So next we'll jump on the weekly articles with Waldek. But thank you, Stephan. Really cool.
Happy to join.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephan, one more time. Really cool to catch up and all the best within the product level. I think it's whenever you as a user realize that there's a gap on something and then you address that gap with the product, that is a real, there's a demand for it because, and in this particular case, it's a really good example of being a student in university and then realizing that, well, this is stupid. Let me fix that. And there you are. Now you have a product.
I would say there is a better way. Like there has to be a better way about it, right? Because things are for a reason, and it's physically impossible to get implemented every single idea everybody has. So it's really cool that we have that ability to build on Microsoft 365 and extend it to our needs and evolve it with additional insights and needs that we've got that might not be a common thing across the board for everybody across the world, but are very much a valid need for us. And it's really cool to have that ability.
Absolutely, 100%. It's one of the key value propositions within Microsoft 365 for sure. So we can adjust that based on our needs and we can export and import and all of that stuff as well. But thank you, Stephan, on that one. Let's jump on the weekly articles. Not a massive amount of news this week, but let's cover what has happened. Obviously, the biggest news last week was the expanding of Copilot to Microsoft 365, the businesses of all sizes. And we used to have this limitation on you're able to subscribe to Copilot for Microsoft 365. I think it was named something different at the time when it was released, because we've been shuffling the name a bit, but it had a limit of 300 accounts, and now that limit is gone. As an individual Microsoft account owner, so as in, what do we call those, Microsoft identity owner, you can also subscribe to Copilot Pro. So you don't have to be in Microsoft 365.
The personal accounts and the work
yes,
and
exactly.
school accounts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's available across the board without any limitations. And actually, I think that $20, was it $20 for the personal Pro account? That's not too much, because again, you get access on OpenAI capabilities, all of that stuff, DALL-E, no limitations on things. It's actually reasonable priced, for sure. So a lot of interesting scenarios with the Copilot for sure. But yeah, so this one again, announcement related on that, and also including, for example, the different capabilities, what's for individuals, what's for organizations, what are we able to do from an extensibility perspective in high level, and all of that. Quotes and next steps from that side. So thank you, Jared, on updating everybody on this great new opportunity. Now, we also had a blog post from Mark Cashman related on Infrazone podcast, which is WWSD. So what would Sue do? Sue Hanley is a well-known information architect. I think that's the right way of saying that. But she's been around for a long time on creating portals and information architectures and enabling businesses to be more efficient within their corporate communications and collaboration. And Sue has a lot of ideas on how can we take the existing technology and make products and companies and companies more efficient. And this was really an interview together with Sue related on her thinking on the latest technologies and what we should be doing and considerations. Definitely great discussion, and a lot of great insights from Sue related on latest technology. If you, by the way, have an opportunity of being in a conference and seeing Sue live, highly recommend it. She's awesome. She definitely knows every single piece of this puzzle. So awesome stuff. Now, we also had an update in Microsoft 365 blog on best practices for designing Word, Excel, and PowerPoint add-ins. So technology which has existed for a while, and it's good that we're sharing the best practice. Well, personally, I have to say this, I hate the term best practices, because best practice is relative, is highly subjective. Good practices, recommendations would be better, because one man's best practice is not necessarily other man's best practice, so to say. So,
well, but I mean, like, if you look at the recommendations here, like name your add-in effectively. Yep. Is there a case to think of where you wouldn't want to do it? Of course you would. Detailed description. So
yeah,
like onboarding is like freemium. Maybe like if you build an enterprise,
this is the only one potentially.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But everything else is like, it sounds very much like open door, and I mean that in the best way, right? Because like open doors are open doors for a reason, because they are proven, effective techniques for do things.
Yep.
So with that, I would say that the first part is very much best practices. Be like, yes, these are no-brainer things you should do. Freemium, I guess that realms very much into the space of it depends. Yes, for some things, for some businesses, it might make perfect sense. Is it for everybody? I wouldn't say so.
Everything is so debatable. That's why I really don't. I understand the the usage of this best practices term, but again, it's subjective. That's the thing. It's recommendations or anyway, that's a separate thing. Sorry, focusing on exactly. Thank you, Skylar, for the great blog post on that one. Now, we also had an update on introducing custom shapes in Visio for the web, so new functionalities in Visio as well. Visio keeps on evolving as well. It is a great tooling. I've been using that for. It's an old tool, right, Waldek? We've been using Visio like way.
Me too. And then I moved to Mac, and there is no Visio on a Mac, and that's when I stopped.
There we go. But the Visio for web probably works in a Mac.
It is available now. Exactly. It is available now, or on the web, or both on the Mac too. But it's like I stopped back then and didn't think twice. So now I build things in PowerPoint if I need to make a drawing.
Makes perfect sense. I do the same. Now, you also had a new blog post related on updated release on DevProxy.
Correct. We released new version of Dev Proxy, which allows you to simulate APIs. And with that, simulate error, simulate behavior, simulate rate limiting, whatever you want to simulate, basically to build better apps, right? So don't just assume and hope for the best. Test it, and test it easily. Don't spend, hours or days building mocks. You can test it in minutes. And we have some new cool things that allow you to make it even easier. So definitely check it out, because again, it will allow you to build better apps.
Yep, absolutely. And I love the constant flow of new functionalities and also the communication. So not just ship it, but also tell people about what you're shipping. Super, super crucial thing. Now, on the Power Platform side, not that much news. It's been pretty quiet actually on this the start of the year, but process mining is generally available in ZCC, sovereign regions. So this is the cloud, governmental cloud functionalities. And there's always a small delay on getting functionalities rolled out from the commercial side to the governmental cloud side, but that's actually really, really cool that we're getting more and more capabilities on that side as well. Now, it was the week of Copilot for Microsoft 365, now that it's available across the board. So a lot of content on that one last week. Chris O'Brien has been using Copilot for a while, Copilot for Microsoft 365 for a while. The surprising truth about the time savings and return of investment. Great blog post from Chris related on what is actually the value and what can we actually save, and how they are using that to calculate how much time you're saving and what's the return of investment. So really, really cool. Copilot break-even minutes per month. So what's actually giving you the baseline, how can you improve your productivity? Measuring productivity is always hard, but it's still, you can basically, the cost seems to be quite reasonable for Copilot because you're saving time. Time is money. So.
Definitely, and I think it is exactly as you said, and we can talk about it. We should actually have a special segment or something where we talk about it some more, because I would argue that it's not as simple as saving time. Because the work that we do, especially in the IW space, it's not like, it is not a mechanical thing where we are a robot and we do a cookie cutter thing and we just assembly line do things. It's thinking, it's creative part, and that is hard. It's hard to measure. And I think, it's not, I think the benefit is there. I think what's really hard is to quantify it, to really prove the business case, right? So yeah, I think it's great to see attempts at it, but I wouldn't say it's as simple as to say it's going to save you that many minutes of work, or there's really the break point, right?
True. It's the productivity is hard to measure for sure. Now, Build Bear, we actually announced, or we covered this one partly last week. So the new SharePoint Embedded Visual Code extension was released last week, or the week before, and Bill Bear had a blog post related on that announcement within last week as well. Bill is a senior product manager in the Microsoft 365. Now, Mikael Svensson, nowadays principal software engineer in Microsoft. Now I need to actually think his current title. Easier editing of Microsoft search verticals in SharePoint sites finally fixed. So there was some issues over there, and you're able to adjust things to be more efficient on that side. So thank you for that one. Thank you for the updates. Rashmi Auklu had a blog post related on recreating deleted owners group for Microsoft 365 connected SharePoint sites. So basically, if you have a mistakenly deleting groups, you're able to restore functionalities back and restoring things. Restoration process walks through the things and what do we can get back from that perspective, and how do we re-establish the connection. Actually, really, really cool. Thank you, Rashmi, on that script and an example scenario. SharePoints, Peter Wenstra, do you have multiple developers working in one flow in Power Automate? So what does that mean? And what's the implications, and what actually happens behind the scenes? So actually, really, really nice blog post again. Thank you, Peter, for creating this great scenario-based blog post. There's so much information within Peter's blog related to all of this stuff. Amory Thomas had a blog post on how to use text input in adaptive card extensions, card views, and this technically is really focusing on these kind of scenarios where the card view in Viva Connection has a text box, and then you click a button, and then something happens. You're searching something, you're submitting something. There's multiple scenarios what can be done with this one, and he's really focusing on how does it actually work and what's possible and how do you react on things, which is really, really cool. Thank you.
Can you have, by the way, only one text box, or can you have as many? Okay, only one. There can be only one. Okay.
There can be only one for the time being. You can have multiple cards with individual text boxes, but only one text box within a card. So
okay.
We also had a new version of the PnP.js coming out, 3.2.2.0. So that's actually released. Thank you, Bo and Julie, on pushing that one forward. Really, really cool. We also had a blog post from Mahmoud Hassan on Microsoft Copilot's rollout maturity model point of view. So he created this maturity model thinking on the Microsoft Copilots and sharing that material for everybody to benefit within LinkedIn. Thank you, Mahmoud, on that one. Really, really good. Awesome thinking as well. Now, the Message Center show had a new episode 5 hours ago, so pretty fresh as we're recording. This one changes the websites tabs in the Teams, create a big impact. And this is actually an interesting change. So previously, if you had you wanted to integrate a website directly in Teams, it was actually opening within a tab or within a personal view. That's not the case actually in the future. In the future, it's going to pop up in a separate window. And that is a significant change which has implications. And they're basically covering that within the podcast or within the YouTube channel as well. So there's a YouTube version of the same show. And then quite a few videos. April had a new video on create your first plugin action in Microsoft Copilot Studio. That's really, really cool. Copilot Studio is getting more and more functionalities as well. Really, really cool those investments. Paolo Pialorsi had a video related on how to activate Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 in your tenant. So walk through that one. I think we had quite a few of these videos available, and the second one is actually this one, by an enable Copilot for Microsoft 365 by Shane Young. So Shane was actually explaining the similar model and how to get started as well, so which is good. There was also a video from AC, navigate ESLint in SharePoint Framework projects and guidance. So there has been a differences or transitioning between TS-Link and ES-Link in the SharePoint framework and what does it mean and his guidance and thinking around that change within a 9-minute video, which is really, really cool. We also had an updated video, new video from Steve Corey. Congratulations, by the way, Steve, on your MVP. He got the MVP status relatively recently, actually a few weeks ago. And great videos and great content in Steve's YouTube channel and how to configure the Q&A in Microsoft Search. So how can you actually make those answers and all of the work step by step within the UX? Not these ads. Trying to show a video and then we're getting an ad.
Goes unpunished.
Yes, because I have an US English operating system, browser, everything, keyboard, and then I'm seeing
yet
this
you're in Finland. There you go.
Yes.
IP. Your IP is in Finland.
That is true. That's where it's coming from. Now, Laura and Joel had a new Power Hour recording streamed live last week as well on the SharePoint site owner considerations. So functionalities and capabilities and what should be taken into account. And then a last video, which is relatively new as well from Kasper Larsen, is around configuring PnP modern people search. So what are the options, how to get started, how does it look like, walking through the different scenarios as well with live demos. So thank you, Kasper, on that one. Really, really cool. But I guess that's pretty much it for now. So, and we already went through, not that one, this one. We already went through what's going to happen this week. I guess that's it for now. Hashtag PnP Weekly.
The next week.
Yes, hashtag PnP Weekly in the Twitter, so we know what we're doing. Or you can use the hashtag PnP Weekly also in LinkedIn. We're trying to follow up on or catching up on that one as well. Also, by the way, in LinkedIn, please use hashtags. We just realized as we were searching things that people don't
help
use
us to help you reach people.
And it's not just us. It's also, you know, hashtags is a good thing, even in LinkedIn. But I guess that's it for now. So thanks Waldek, thanks Stephan, thanks everybody for watching, listening. We'll be back within a week. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.